In September 2018, Israeli F-35 stealth fighters crossed into Syrian airspace. Their mission was surgical, strike Iranian weapons facilities before they could arm Hezbollah. But standing in their way was Russia's most advanced air defense system, the S-400 Triumph, a network of radars and missiles that Moscow claimed could detect and destroy any aircraft on Earth, including American stealth fighters. On Russian state television, generals had spent years boasting the S-400 could see the invisible, track the untrackable, shoot down the untouchable. That night in Syria, the world watched to see if those claims were true. The F-35s penetrated deep into Syrian territory. They released their weapons. They turned for home, and the S-400 never fired a single missile. Not because Russia chose restraint, but because their radars never saw the jets coming. What went wrong with the system Putin called his ultimate shield? And why does the physics of stealth make Russia's billion-dollar air defense network almost useless against American fifth-generation fighters? The S-400 Triumph arrived with fanfare that echoed across every defense expo and military parade from Moscow to Beijing. First deployed in 2007, it promised to rewrite the rules of air defense. Russian engineers boasted it could engage targets up to 400 kilometers away, track 300 objects simultaneously, and engage 36 threats at once. On paper, it was a fortress in a box. Massive radar arrays swept the sky, searching for anything that moved. Long-range missiles stood ready to intercept bombers, cruise missiles, even ballistic warheads. The system could deploy in minutes, pack up just as fast, and vanish before an enemy could strike back. Russian state media ran endless segments showing the S-400 locking onto distant targets, launching interceptors that streaked into the sky, trailing fire. Defense officials lined up to declare that American stealth was obsolete. They said the S-400's radars operated on wavelengths that could detect even the most advanced stealth aircraft. They said no jet, no matter how invisible, could evade Russian technology. Export customers lined up. Turkey, a NATO ally, bought the system despite American threats. China ordered multiple battalions. India, Saudi Arabia, and others joined the queue. The message was clear. If you wanted to keep American stealth out of your airspace, you bought the S-400. But message and reality rarely align in the world of military technology. The S-400's confidence rested on a principle that sounds logical until you examine the physics. Russian engineers knew that American stealth aircraft like the F-22 and F-35 were optimized to evade high-frequency X-band radars, the kind used by fighter jets and missile seekers to lock onto targets and guide weapons to impact. So Russia built the S-400 around lower-frequency radars. L-band and S-band systems use longer wavelengths, waves that in theory can resonate with the edges and shapes of a stealth aircraft, revealing its position even when higher frequencies pass by unnoticed. The logic seems sound. If American jets were invisible to X-band, hit them with L-band and watch them light up. Russian promotional videos showed simulations of stealth bombers appearing as bright blips on S-400 screens. Generals assured buyers that no amount of American radar-absorbent material could hide from Russian innovation. But there was a problem rooted in the unchanging laws of physics. Lower frequency radars can sense that something is out there. They might pick up a faint return, a ghost on the screen. But they cannot tell you exactly where that something is or how fast it is moving with enough precision to guide a missile to a kill. The resolution is too coarse, the return too vague. At best, the S-400's long-range search radars can whisper that a stealth jet might be in a given sector, somewhere within a 10 or 20 kilometer box. For a missile traveling at Mach 5, that is an ocean of empty sky. To actually intercept a target, you need high-frequency fire control radars. You need X-band precision to track velocity, altitude, heading. You need a sharp, clean lock, and that is exactly what the F-35 was designed to deny. The F-35 Lightning II is not just stealthy from one angle or against one type of radar. It is a study in broadband radar cross-section reduction, engineered to scatter and absorb energy across the entire spectrum. Every surface, every edge, every panel seam is aligned and treated to minimize reflections. The aircraft's shape forces incoming radar waves to bounce away at sharp angles, and it refuses to send a clear echo back to the transmitter. When the S-400L band search radar pings an F-35, the return is faint and fleeting. The system might register a disturbance, but it cannot hand off a precise track to the engagement radar, and without that handoff, the missiles stay silent in their tubes. The F-35 also carries electronic warfare systems that can jam, deceive, and confuse enemy radars. It does not need to be completely invisible. It just needs to stay ambiguous long enough to get in range, release weapons, and escape before the enemy can react. In Syria, that is exactly what happened. Israeli F-35s, almost certainly equipped with additional mission-specific jamming pods and supported by electronic warfare aircraft, slipped past the S-400's outer sensors. By the time the Russian crews realized something was wrong, the bombs were already falling, the jets were gone. No missile launch, no intercept, just silence and failure. Russia's response to these failures has been predictable: deny, deflect, and double down. After the Syrian strikes, Russian officials claimed the S-400 was never activated, that political considerations kept the system offline. They said the Israelis coordinated with Moscow to avoid embarrassment, but leaked reports and independent analysis told a different story. The S-400 was active, its radars were scanning, it simply could not generate a fire control solution against a target it could barely see. The same pattern repeated in other theaters. In 2020, Azerbaijani drones, some with stealthy features, devastated Armenian forces protected by Russian air defense systems. The S-400's little brother, the S-300, failed to stop wave after wave of unmanned aircraft. Each failure chipped away at the myth. The pattern is clear: against legacy aircraft, loud and large. With radar cross-sections measured in square meters, the S-400 works as advertised. Against subsonic cruise missiles flying predictable paths, it can engage and destroy. But against low observable aircraft designed to exploit the physics of radar, the system is an expensive ornament. The problem is not that Russian engineers are incompetent, it is that they are trying to solve a problem that physics will not allow. You cannot have long-range early warning and high-resolution targeting in the same radar band. Stealth exploits that gap ruthlessly. Today, the S-400 remains in service across multiple countries, a symbol of Russian military prestige and a lucrative export product, but its reputation has been shattered in the minds of those who understand air defense. Turkey's purchase strained its relationship with NATO and resulted in its expulsion from the F-35 program, all for a system that cannot reliably counter the very threat it was meant to address. China, despite buying the S-400, continues pouring billions into its own indigenous air defense research, a tacit admission that the Russian solution is not enough. Meanwhile, the United States continues refining its stealth fleet. The F-35 is not the endpoint, it is the middle chapter. The B-21 Raider bomber, now in testing, promises even greater radar evasion across even more frequencies. 6th generation fighters in development will push the boundaries further still. Each generation learns from the last, tightening the margin, closing the gaps. And each time Russia unveils a new radar or a new missile, American engineers study it, model it, and design around it. The S-400 was supposed to be the answer to American air dominance. It was supposed to level the playing field, to make stealth irrelevant. Instead, it became a case study in the limits of propaganda and the unforgiving nature of physics. The system that promised to see everything could not see the one thing that mattered. And in the skies over Syria, over Ukraine, and over future battlefields, that failure is written in the contrails of jets that were never supposed to be there. Right now, the S-400 batteries sit across conflict zones, their radars spinning, searching for threats that slip past like ghosts. Russia can claim whatever it wants in press releases and export brochures, but the pilots flying American stealth know the truth. The sky is not closed. It never was. Stealth is not about being invisible. It is about being invisible when it counts. And when it counts, the S-400 is blind. If you want to see how American technology stays decades ahead, drop a comment below.